Hello writers. I wanted to make a video talking about the introduction of an essay specifically. So I have my videos on the 7-paragraph essay and on the 5-paragraph essay. And my 5-paragraph essay video does go into how to write an introduction and how to write a thesis statement, but it doesn't give as much information about each part of the essay as much as an overview of how to write, and also my video on how to write essays. All of them give kind of an overview on how to write a full essay without breaking down the parts, and I thought it might be helpful to break down the parts a little bit. So I wanted to talk first about, obviously, the introduction, because why wouldn't you? I know in some classes the introduction isn't the first thing that's written. I tend to write in a rather linear way, and I do write my introduction first. I'm a strong believer. I teach creative writing as well. My major was in creative writing, and I believe a lot in writing freedom, and I believe everybody has their own process. So if it works better for you to write the body paragraphs first and then write an introduction and conclusion that that works on that also really works well, because it's easier to, if you write your whole essay, then you can write an introduction, you know, that introduces really what you wrote. And a conclusion that concludes what you wrote, rather than writing an introduction first and then trying to make the whole essay follow the introduction. So one piece of advice I'm going to give you is that if, like me, you're a linear writer and you want to start with your introduction, write your body paragraphs, and then write your conclusion, to really keep in mind that your introduction is a working introduction, your thesis statement is a working thesis statement, and that at any point, if you find a stronger point to support your argument, or if you decide to go in a slightly different direction, don't feel like you have to stick to what you wrote in your introduction. Think of your introduction as something that can be revised at any point and changed. That this is just kind of where you're going now. And if, you know, during your research and your writing, you go, wow, you know what, I just thought of this point, and this is so much stronger than point 2 in my thesis statement. You just change your thesis statement, rewrite your introduction a little if you have to, and then, you know, go with that point. Don't feel stuck with your introduction the way that it is. You really, at the end, once you've written your whole paper, you want to read the whole thing through. In addition to reading it for grammar mistakes and things like that, you want to read it again for flow and content. Make sure your thesis statement and your introduction kind of matches and leads up nicely, and feel free to rewrite that to match the essay. So just kind of keep that in mind, that what we're doing for our introduction, I'm Italian, I talk with my hands a lot, what we do for our introduction, don't feel stuck with. But this is just kind of the general rules for writing an introduction. So you're going to hear different things. Some things are stylistic. Stylistic means that, you know, you're not right or wrong if you do certain things, but in academic writing specifically, there are some things that we want to kind of avoid doing in an introduction. So, you know, if you're reading a magazine article, you're reading, you know, any number of things, you're going to see a number of techniques used in an introduction that are going to be used to kind of catch the eye and draw a reader in, that we actually avoid doing in scholarly essays. One thing is writing in first person. People love to tell stories or, you know, talk about themselves. And in academic writing, you want to avoid that. If I could give you one piece of advice that you're going to take with you in all of your writing classes, it's going to be that if you're writing a scholarly academic essay, do not reference yourself or your reader. Do not say I, me, we, our, us, you, your, ourselves, let's, L-E-T apostrophe S is short for let us. Avoid all of this. Use a strict third person voice. It's not always the most engaging or the most fun, but it's the most authoritative, which is what you are going for in academic writing. Oh, I talk a lot and my videos get long, but they can really help you. So avoid first person. Next, avoid using quotes in your introduction. You're going to find occasionally things that are going to tell you to use a quote, that using a quote is going to be interesting, engaging, draw your reader in. That can be definitely true in a more creative kind of writing. If you're writing a blog, you're trying to get, you know, millions of viewers or something like that, you might want to use a really strong quote, and your audience is going to go, whoa, yeah, that sounds cool, let me keep reading this. You don't want to do that so much in scholarly writing. takes away from your voice, which is kind of a strange thing to say because I just told you not to refer to yourself in first person, and you might feel like that takes away from your voice. But what you really want to do in your introduction is, by using a strong tone and the way that you word things, the way that you write, establish yourself as an authority without referring to yourself or telling the reader that you are an authority. You just want to sound like the authority on the subject. And one way to do that is to not use somebody else's voice immediately. If the first voice that I hear in an essay is someone else's voice, you haven't really established yourself as the author in the essay. So you want to avoid quotes. Another thing that you want to do is avoid facts and statistics in your introduction. This may sound counterintuitive, and honestly, personally, I don't mind an introduction that has facts and statistics in it, but I am a college professor and I kind of am drawn to facts and statistics. So once again, this is stylistic. You're not, going to fail an essay because you use a quote or statistic. If you do use a quote or statistic, you must cite it. Anything that you use, that's somebody else's words or ideas, you must cite. But ideally, you're going to want to avoid in-text citations in your introduction. Your introduction is there to introduce. Your body paragraphs, which we'll get into in another video, are there to support your introduction. So avoid these if you can. If you feel like you absolutely need this, then I trust you as the writer to do it. But mostly, you're once again overpowering your own kind of voice, which is mostly established in your introduction. So you really want to kind of avoid using a lot of facts, statistics, quotes, or anything like that. And don't use, once again, first or second person in any part of your essay. So then what we're going to do is, you want a hook. You're introducing your topic. You want to write something that's engaging and is going to draw your reader in. That's going to make the reader want to read. Then you just kind of, while you're establishing your voice, you're introducing the topic, some thoughts and ideas on the topic. The introduction really is just made, you don't want to give too much information in most of your introduction. What you're doing is just kind of like giving your reader an idea about what the topic is and pulling them in. And then you get to your last sentence. Now, I want to tell you that you want a minimum of 5 sentences and 100 words. This is the bare minimum. You can do a lot more than this. You never want fewer than 5 sentences or 100 words. It's just not enough. And when you get to writing much longer papers, you're going to probably go with quite a bit more than that. But in your classic 5-paragraph essay that you're going to do in your earlier level classes, and a lot of other classes really, because they're just kind of looking for a quick overview of a topic, you never want to have fewer than 100 words or fewer than 5 full sentences. So when you get your last sentence, that will be your thesis statement. You always want the last sentence to be your thesis statement. Now, I have a video that goes more in depth into your thesis statement, but you can watch that. But I just want to say, largely you want to do either your argument or your assessment, kind of the point that you want to make in the essay, and then 3 points that support it. This is just the accepted format. I can give you a million reasons why this works really well, especially for a 5-paragraph essay. But more than anything, just like how we all accept that if a light is red, you stop at it, even though there's nothing inherently that means, stop about a red light. We accept that we write a 3-part thesis statement. 3 parts, it's just a good amount to support your argument, and this is generally the rule. So you're going to make your assessment. I think in one of my other videos, I use medical marijuana. Even though half the country, right, is legalized recreational at this point, I'm probably going to get a lot fewer essays on this. But if you want to say, medical marijuana should be legalized, so that's your argument, and then you say, because it can help cancer patients, it can help people with glaucoma, and it can help people with PTSD. So I just, kind of made that up off the top of my head, but I've read thousands of essays on this topic, so it's not that difficult. So that, would be your thesis statement. Now, what you think about your thesis statement is that it's road mapping your essay. So what that means is if we're going on a journey, and the journey is to get us to the point that medical marijuana should be legalized. That's your argument, right? That's the point you're making. So by the end of the paper, you want your reader to agree with that. That's the journey we're taking from the beginning where I'm telling you this to the end where we're getting to the point where the reader agrees with us on our argument. And so the 3 main points that I, just laid out, that is kind of what you're telling your reader, what you're going to see along the way. So if you were giving directions, you would say, all right, you're going to meet me at the school for the play. You're going to take a right at the Walmart, go 10 blocks, take a left at Target, go 7 blocks, and, make another right at the McDonald's. You're telling, the person what they see on this map along the way. So that's what your points are in your thesis statement if you think of it like that. It roadmaps your essay. It tells your reader the main things you're going to see, they're going to see, and you're going to tell them along the way on this journey to where they get to the destination, which is what you started with in your argument. So it's a really good way to look at it. You show your hand in academic writing, whereas in creative writing, that's not always true. But you really want in your your last sentence of your first paragraph in your thesis, you want your reader to basically know everything. And I know that kind of sounds a little bit strange because you feel like, well, what's the point of writing the essay if they know everything in this one sentence? But really, that's what you're looking for. They should be able to tell you exactly what the essay is about and what all of the main points are. And then you're going to kind of embellish on them and flesh them out a little bit. So that is how you write an introduction. So remember, at least 5 sentences, at least 100 words. Don't use first person. Don't use a lot of quotes or statistics, and really avoid them if you can. Just kind of pull in the topic and end with your thesis statement. If you have any questions, let me know.